What's up everybody, it's Brandon from Tattooing 101, and today I'm going to go over something a little bit more personal, a little bit different, and that is what I would do differently if I was to start tattooing in 2024. So the industry has changed a ton the last 5-10 years, and when I started 14 years ago, the industry was a very different place. Now there's a ton of different resources out there that would make it easier to become a tattoo artist, and I want to go over the things that I personally would do differently if I was to start tattooing right now. So the number one point that I would choose over all the rest of them is going to be the shop that I started out with. So the place that I started tattooing, it wasn't a very good studio. It wasn't necessarily a place that I would want to start out if I was getting into tattooing. There was a lot of issues with sanitation. I wasn't taught anything really about sanitation, how to do things properly in order to make sure the clients are safe. That's the main reason I left the shop, but I stuck it out for way too long, just thinking it was going to be my only opportunity to get into this industry starting out. Nowadays, with everything online, and specifically, what I do, the ways to appropriately go about a tattoo, that knowledge is out there. So I definitely, if I was in a shop that wasn't doing this correctly, do your own research and understand how to properly and safely set up for a tattoo, break down for a tattoo, and just make sure that everyone's safe during the process. It not only is a problem for your client, but also your well-being, which is obviously very important. Another thing I'm going to touch base on is the resources that are out there right now are so important to utilize. So whenever I was in my apprenticeship, they didn't really teach me a lot. They just said, make sure you're watching me, pick up on the things I'm doing, but they didn't really explain exactly what I needed to do in order to better myself tattooing. It was a trial and error period to where I pretty much had to learn by myself, and instead of picking it up in a couple months or a year, it took me like 7 years to get to a point to where I really felt like I understood the basics of tattooing, which I should have known 6 years before that. So it took me a really long time to understand these things and be able to tattoo appropriately. And something as simple as needle codes, that's something that I was never taught, and it took forever. People would talk about bug pins and I would have no idea what they were talking about for a very long time in my career. So these are all the things that can make life a whole lot easier for someone getting into tattooing and trying to get all the knowledge. Definitely use the resources out there, because that is 100% what I would do if I was first starting out. And not only with YouTube, there's courses like the Artist Accelerator program that we have that go over all the information about sanitation, how to build a portfolio, also how to tattoo correctly, with lining, shading, color, pretty much every step that I didn't learn in my apprenticeship. There's things available out there that you could actually take a course and understand all of these things. The biggest downside of that is obviously going to be you're not going to be in a studio, so that kind of hands-on understanding of kind of how a studio's ran is pretty much the only downside of that. The knowledge is there. You don't have to worry about a mentor possibly teaching you wrong. You could learn all the correct things that are proven to work, and then be able to get into an apprenticeship already having all of the knowledge there, or even just get into a shop skipping your apprenticeship because you already have all the knowledge that you need to be able to get into a studio. Another major thing that I would also do is, when I first started, I was told that you have to master every single style to be able to make it as a tattoo artist. Now, this is something that has been told for everyone whenever I started tattooing 14 years ago. It was like, if you're in a street shop, you need to be able to do whatever walks in the door, because they're worried about money. Even if you're not great at any style, you could just do it. Now, if you focus on one style when you're first starting out and perfect that, you're going to get the clientele that you need to make a good living and possibly get into a better shop because you have perfected that one style. So if I was to first start tattooing, I would focus on one style, put all of my effort into perfecting that, and then obviously from there I could grow and get better at different styles. But you want to perfect one style first. You don't want to be jumping around, because it's going to take you years to try to figure everything out instead of just focusing on one thing and then going somewhere else. And also, if you didn't want to focus on getting into realism or neo-traditional, there's traditional artists out there that's all they do. That's all they focus on, and they've gotten a very big following because their niche is that. People will travel to you and get tattoos from you if you're good at marketing, and also if you're good at that stuff. So when I first started tattooing, I was trying to focus on traditional. I did a lot of script, basically all of the walk-in things that none of the artists wanted to do. So this wasn't something that I was able to actually practice. Fake skins weren't a thing back in the day. So it was a big problem that my learning took way longer because I didn't have the tools to be able to grow myself without clients coming through the door. I obviously wasn't doing a ton of traditional tattoos, even though that's what I wanted to do. I was just kind of pushed off to the things that no one else wanted to do. So it took me a really long time to understand the appropriate way to go about things. Obviously, I couldn't just ask because they weren't the best either. They would give me answers that I would try to use and it didn't work, and it doesn't really work for them. So there's a lot of misinformation if you don't get into a right shop or you're watching the right things, utilizing everything online, to where you could kind of get wrong information, which will compromise you in the future. One thing I say to all the students is it's a lot easier to learn something correctly the first time instead of trying to unlearn something and learn correctly from there. It's just going to take a long time to kind of get rid of all the bad information you got and all the muscle memory that you got doing something incorrectly than to just learn it correctly the first time. So with this, I was doing traditional artwork, really focusing on trying to make all the flash that I could, but no one would get it. That's one big point that I want to say. You want to be able to practice, but market yourself in a way to where you could actually get those clients through the door. That's going to greatly benefit you in the rest of your career and also build up a following that'll help you. As a tattoo artist nowadays, marketing is going to be a huge part of your business and how you get clients through the door. When I first started, word of mouth was a big deal. Nowadays, if you don't have Facebook, Instagram, pretty much pushing on any social medias, it's going to be really hard. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be really hard for an artist starting out because everyone looks at reviews nowadays. They're not going to be just walking into a ton of different shops and trying to just figure out what's the right fit. They're going to look you up on Facebook, look you up on Instagram, look at the work that you do, look at the reviews, and choose from there. So these are really important steps that I would definitely stick to if I was to first start tattooing now. As soon as you have the idea of this is what I want to do for a living, start your Instagram, start your Facebook, start recording your journey. Even if it's just like drawing stuff, post it. People will see it and be like, oh, he's getting into tattooing. I want to follow him and see, how he grows. And then eventually when you're starting to post tattoos, they'll want to come to you. It's about building a friendship with the people that are following you so you could have that connection and they trust you to come to you, because tattooing as a whole is a big sign of trust. If they're coming to you, they're trusting you with their body pretty much forever. You are putting something on them that's not going to disappear. Of course, there's laser and everything nowadays, but you're putting your artwork on them that's going to be with them for the rest of their life. So it's a very humbling thing every time I think about it and sit down and really understand what tattooing is as a whole. And most of the time people will open up to me about their lives and everything during the tattoo process. So there's a lot more to tattooing than just doing the art. You are building a connection with your client. If you're doing it correctly, they're going to come to you for the rest of their life because they trust your art. They don't want to jump around to different artists. You really kind of build up a friendship with your clients that come to you multiple times. The next point I have is probably one of the most important, because depending on what you believe, we're here right now one time. Time is probably the most valuable thing that you could have in this life. And I spent a ton of time pretty much selling my soul to this industry. I put off friendships, I put off things that I wanted to do, I put off my happiness, which drove me down a cycle of, just bad things. I started drinking a lot, was super depressed, had anxiety issues because I focused so much on making this work and building myself in this industry that I completely cut out any self-care and understanding about things that I naturally need to stay happy in this life. I look at it now, and yes, those were battles that I went through that I needed to go through to get to where I am today. But if I was to do it now, I wouldn't have focused as much of that time. You know, I missed birthdays, I missed friends' weddings, a ton of things to where I wish, looking back, that I could undo and be there for those people that were there for me. And instead I was just sitting in a tattoo shop just hoping someone would come in so I could make money. Now, at the end of the day, this is a job. This is something that, you know, you need to do. You need to be around for, but investing 15 hours of your life a day into an industry, not having days off, eventually you're going to get burnt out and you're going to regret a lot of things in the future. So this is something that you need to invest your time in, but time management is going to be a big deal. You don't want to be sitting in a bed at 80 years old regretting all of your life decisions because maybe you have 300,000 people on Instagram that follow you for your tattoos, but you missed out on all the opportunities in your life. So self-care is really important. Stretching, your back's gonna hurt from having the shrimp back for sitting tattooing for hours on end. Go camping. I mean, obviously not everyone, some people don't like that stuff, but that's something that I really enjoy doing, being out in nature. Everyone that knows me knows that I love making fires. It's one of my favorite things in the world. So do things that you personally need to fill yourself with happiness. It'll make for a way better lifestyle and also make you a way better artist, because creativity is different than pretty much anything else out there. If you are not happy, if you are not in the right mindset, your art will change. Your art is a reflection of yourself as a person, which not a lot of people think about. So if you're just sitting around super depressed, anxious all the time, I completely understand. And you know, I went through that, probably one of the worst periods of my life. Just know that there is a better way. Self-care is going to be that. Now I'm done with that rant. I'll get on to the last point, which is going to be, I wish that I knew more about aftercare. So aftercare is going to be really important when it comes to tattooing. Not understanding the steps, giving them the wrong information. When I first started, you know, everyone was using Vaseline, triple antibiotic, Aquaphor, all of that stuff. And nowadays I stay away from all those things because yes, it could heal a tattoo if you put it on super lightly, but there's just too much opportunity for things to go wrong with it. Because if you put too much on, if you put it on with non-clean hands, it'll pretty much build a barrier for bacteria to grow in your skin, which leads to infections, all these things. So understanding aftercare and how to tell your clients to take care of their tattoos, it would be a game changer if you're first starting out. This is something that's often overlooked and is a big deal. You want your tattoos to actually look good after the tattoo, because 9 times out of 10, a client could heal their tattoo incorrectly because you didn't really tell them the correct steps, or you didn't tell them anything and they just tried to do it on their own. And if it heals terrible, they're not going to blame themselves. They're not going to say anything besides the fact of, oh, that guy did it and it looks like this. They're not going to go into detail about things they did wrong, about jumping in the pool or going and rubbing it on the sand, or their dog accidentally scratched it. They're just going to tell them who did it. And if it doesn't look good, that's a representation of your art. So understanding aftercare, I have plenty of videos on this specifically about what I do for aftercare. And this took a very long time understanding exactly how my tattoos healed, what the best things for it are. That's what I do. Everyone has different rules and ideas about aftercare, but for me specifically with tattooing, I found something that works for me. So if you want to try it out, definitely recommend seeing my aftercare video. So these are the main things that I would change if I was going to start tattooing today. If you are thinking about getting into the tattoo industry or wanting to understand more about this field, this is the perfect video for you. All of the mistakes I've made throughout my career has led me to this point, and I've learned from trial and error and doing things wrong. So doing things correctly will get you to the point way faster than just trying to jump around and do all the things that I did. So that's specifically why I'm making this video for you guys, so you could skip past all of the hurdles that I had to do of trying to figure it out on my own. I'm here so you guys don't have to go through those things. All the trauma, all the late nights, all the times that I skipped out on things. I don't want that for you. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.